Welcome back. We appreciate you being here on What Matters This Week. I'm Lauren Maloney. Anna Nasset is joining us today. We had talked to you before. You have this wonderful podcast trying to bring awareness to social issues, domestic issues, when it comes to sexual assaults and stalking as well. So appreciate you being here again.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Particularly January is National Stalking Awareness Month.
Correct.
And Governor Phil Scott did proclaim this month so in the state of Vermont. When you went to the governor's office and said, you know, we need to talk about this, is this a possibility? What was the conversation you had?
I was completely nervous because here I am, just this Vermonter who, you know, is waitressing and at a little inn and bartending at this inn, and stalking is very dear to my heart, as you know. So I first reached out to my state representative, Maxine Grad, and asked her, is this something we can do? I see on the Stalking Awareness site that there's a proclamation. And so she kind of helped put the ball rolling for me, and emailing with the governor's office. And they were very, very quick to say, we want to do this. This is important to us, and to set up a date to have that signed. And it was amazing. I, was in the governor's office with some of the folks from the Vermont Network for Domestic and Sexual Violence, and from the Center from Crime Victim Services, and it was just such an incredible experience, and just showed how seriously the governor did take this crime. And then additionally in the afternoon, the state and House also passed a resolution to honor January as National Stalking Awareness Month here in Vermont.
Okay. You travel the country really to tell your story, and I want to make sure you're comfortable with saying only what you want to say.
Thank you.
But you unfortunately are a victim and know this very well. And
yes.
Recently there has been a victory basically to end this case, and your offender is away for some time. But what are you willing to tell our viewers just how serious this stalking situation can be?
For my story, this started back in 2011, to my knowledge, but probably actually started back in 2008. I did not become aware of this man stalking me till 2011. At the time, I owned an art gallery out in Washington State in a small little town. I was the best gallery in town. I had this fabulous life full of friends and gallery walks, and just was absolutely living my dream life. And this man I don't know had been watching me for some time, as I said, probably back to 2008, but he first made himself known to me in 2011 by coming into my business, and very quickly I could tell something wasn't quite right in how he was trying to communicate with me, and he kept calling the business, and just all these things started to really put this fear in me, and I didn't understand why. I'm like, why am I fearful of this person? I don't get this. And as they continued to progress, I eventually went to law enforcement, and this individual did have a behavior of a mental health condition in which he had targeted people for short amount of time in the past. And so we'd hoped that would be the case, but unfortunately it was not. And he continued to stalk me for all of these years. I ended up having to close my business, and eventually ended up relocating across the country to try and find safety and freedom from him, because his threats were very violent, very real, and had me in a large place of danger throughout any type of my life. And so I came out here to try and just disappear, and unfortunately he figured out that I was here in Vermont. But we were through that able to build a case out in Washington State, and it took us several years, but we just went to trial in August, and he was found guilty of aggravated felony stalking and guilty of felony cyber stalking, and then amazingly and rather historically was given the maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. So while we say it is the end, it's never really the end. Sure. Because this is a crime that, even though I have justice now, it doesn't mean that his behavior will stop. It doesn't mean that he isn't continuing to do that behavior right now. not to my knowledge, because he's not allowed to send me letters or things like that, but it doesn't mean he's not trying to. And it doesn't mean that when he's released, he won't continue to conduct that behavior again. And so I think, with stalking, it's so nuanced because there may not ever be an end in sight. And that's a really difficult thing to kind of take into your life and understand that this could be with me forever.
The crime of stalking, too, like you said, is a difficult conviction. There are a lot of other things that are usually charged along with that. When you talk about stalking per se, sometimes the word is broad, and in everyday communication, it can be used kind of as a throwaway line. How does that affect you? And are you, when you hear it, are you quick to jump and say,
well,
can we intervene?
Yes, well, I'm definitely very triggered by it, and that's partially because I've experienced it for so long. So if someone throws around the term, oh, I was stalking him on Facebook, that's very triggering to me because it hits home for me. And I have to kind of separate out, well, this is personal to me. This person doesn't understand that. How can I talk to them about that? And so I wouldn't say I'm super quick, but I try and kindly and casually talk to somebody about it to be like, do you know what stalking actually is? It is repeated behavior that is intended to cause a reasonable person fear for their safety or the safety of others around them. So you looking at someone's pictures on Facebook is not doing that. So don't use that term with it. So for me, there is this continuous education, and I think our country, our world doesn't really understand what this crime is, and there's very little known about it. There's beginning to be a lot more outreach and a lot more discussion around it, and it is very challenging to convict because it's a psychological crime. So anybody, like the prosecuting attorneys, the judge sitting over that case, has to be like, I don't have physical evidence. I have to go with, has this psychological crime, is that a physical thing? And it's very nuanced and very difficult to charge. And my hat's off to the team out in Washington State of the prosecuting attorneys and advocates and judge who were simply just doing their job and did a phenomenal job of being able to, for the prosecuting team to be able to prove that that was the crime, and for the judge to be able to discern and make that judgment was really incredible.
You use the word triggering. There is so much in our atmosphere, in our world with movies, TV, books. How do you keep yourself at a distance so you don't make yourself upset?
Yes, well, I mean, girl, I can get triggered 17 ways a Sunday walking down the street. I mean, if I see someone that looks like him, if there's certain words that, like, things that he said to me repeatedly through messaging that if I'll hear them, I'll get triggered. Going to the grocery store will always be difficult for me because he would hide in the grocery store wanting to try and find me. So even though I live 3,000 miles away, and I still have a hard time going to the grocery store. How I protect myself is I give myself a lot of grace. I give myself the ability to, it's not as bad now, but if I needed to leave someplace, I needed to leave. If I didn't want to be someplace, it's okay to leave. Within media and everything like that, I just try and be really discerning and change the channel. Don't watch the shows that I know are going to trigger me. I watch a lot of very light television, like give me some Gilmore Girls all day long. Like that's my go-to, is that type of programming, like strong females, lighter shows, programs that even like visually they're lighter. Like I like Parks and Rec a lot. It's just like a brighter show.
Yeah.
And those are things that really help me as far as just being able to still zone out and be the couch potato I want to be, but not take in things that are going to really affect me, because I've been affected enough.
If there are people out there who are thinking, maybe this is stalking, maybe not, because you had talked about the definition, what's your advice? Where do people go?
So one thing I think is go with your gut. Like, trust your gut. If your gut is telling you that there's something wrong, there probably is something wrong. And I do think it's important to state that very few cases are like mine. 75 to 85% of people being stalked know the person stalking them. they were in a relationship with them, they were in a marriage with them, they're somehow associated to them, they're a customer of theirs. So I think that while my story falls into that kind of Hollywood type of thing that you think of, it's not what's normally happening in our community. And so for people out there who are experiencing these fears from someone they know or don't know, go with your gut. And really the biggest thing I think is go to law enforcement and report. And it's difficult for them because a lot of times, like I said, people are just really learning what this crime is. It's been around for a long time, but they're just really learning what it is. So oftentimes they don't know how to respond. So I like to suggest to people who reach out to me, before you even go to law enforcement, go to your local domestic violence or sexual assault center. It doesn't say stalking on their sign, but they will be there for you. And that gets you an advocate who can go to law enforcement with you and help getting the ball rolling towards getting protection orders and things like that. But for me, what's been so big is that I've had a team, and it's never been a team of lawyers that I've paid for or anybody like that. It's been just people who work for the state that were doing their job. And those people are here too, and they'll be there to help you and to learn alongside you how to really combat this crime and what it's going to take to find safety.
There are, like you said, victims like you, you know, in situations that have different outcomes. How do you, like you said, 10 years, 15 years down the road, how do you empower yourself to handle the fact that this is going to be around me for a while?
Well, I think a really good example is National Stalking Month was started by a woman named Debbie Riddle, and Debbie's sister Peggy was killed 17 years ago this month by the man who stalked her. And that was a former partner of hers. She actually relocated to California, had no address. He ended up impersonating a delivery person to find out her address. And she ended up murdered. And that is all too often the case. Debbie turned around and within a year had started National Stalking Awareness Month and was at the Capitol in DC presenting that and having that started. So, you know, the work that she did out of her sister's death has saved lives. It saved my life. I should not be alive. And so I think for me, when I can look at this exceptional sentence that we got of the 10 years, that should be the standard. And so what I've really committed to is my work moving forward is to making sure that that starts to become the standard, that others start to receive these same sentences so that we can have freedom. And that looks, you know, through helping change laws and going out and speaking and creating awareness and just doing whatever we can to be able to further this voice. Because like I said, most people, like, the crime is found out when they're dead, and that shouldn't be the case. So we've lost way too many people from this crime, and I'll do whatever I can to stop it. I don't think, I mean, with anything, it's like it takes so long to see real change, but if we can start getting stronger convictions, I think we can start to see change.
Well, listen, I know you don't have an easy story to tell, and I know it's not easy to repeat it. So I appreciate that you've trusted me and trusted us in retelling it, and I hope it touches some people out there.
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for wanting to share the story and taking this seriously and honoring National Stalking Awareness Month.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Lauren.
We'll be right back. Stick around.